I'm Monique. I'm a library technician here, and I'm going to show you how to make a little notepad using a coffee cup or some other upcycled card, or upcycling a tissue box even. So,
and what are these ones?
Oh, and I've also got some lovely calendars from a few years ago which were never used. So this is something that we could trim and use for a notepad cover as well. I especially like this front cover. I can imagine that look beautiful as the outside with the black on the inside.
Okay, so what started you making notebooks?
I just hated the idea of the coffee cups being wasted when I could see a really good purpose for them so that they could have a second life, either in your handbag or a handy thing for keeping track of whatever you need to keep track of.
And what do you like about what's the difference in working with recycled material as opposed to
something
brand new card purchased from Spotlight?
I don't think there is a great big difference in terms of how the material handles. It's more a feeling of satisfaction that I'm not throwing something away, The difference is that I'm repurposing and, doing that little thing to decrease my footprint on the earth, so to speak.
Yeah, but you've got a good eye. You've got a good eye for stuff, What sort of things do you see?
For?
Yeah, what do you look for?
I suppose something colourful, or this isn't terribly colourful, but it's got lovely texture. It has a depth to it because it has the outer side, so you could even use that as a little pocket for receipts. It's just the texture, and it's hard to put my finger on it. It's something that you can develop over time, I suppose, just using your imagination. So I love the little flowers on the tissue box.
Yeah.
So what I've done is I've cut out a side and I've started making a little notepad with it. So far I've got, that will be the outside part, and the inside pages will be upcycled packaging. So this comes in our boxes when we receive the new stock, and I've got a bit of a thing for brown paper. So I've collected it, I've flattened it out in my own time, and I'm going to turn it into a little notepad. Okay, so when I do the workshops for the library, I have 10 little personalised kits that I've made up that people can use. So we've got a bone folder, a pair of scissors, pencil, some wax for waxing our thread when we're sewing, a knife, an awl, paper piercer, a little letter opener which comes in really handy, and a couple of big clips, or we could use, instead of the big clips, we could use a couple of clothes pegs. And of course a steel ruler. The steel is good because when you're cutting, you're less inclined to skip over the edge like you would with a wooden ruler or a plastic ruler. So that's the kit, and with just about everything that I do in my workshops, that's what we use, as well as some workshops we use glue as well. Okay, so we're going to do 2 little booklets in this workshop. I'm going to finish the booklet using the board from the tissue box, and we will make a little booklet using one of the paper cups. Right, for this little booklet, I'm going to incorporate this satin ribbon that was a part of a birthday gift I got for my 50th. So I just cut a length that's going to be good. Alright, so I've got my papers trimmed to the right size. I'm going to use the pegs to hold it in place while I pierce the holes for sewing. And it's just going to be, this sewing style is called a pamphlet stitch. So I'm just going to make 3 holes. So that's the first one, with the all coming through. There it goes. And then I'll do another one. So it goes through the middle of the pages, out through the back of the book. And I'm just guesstimating. I'm not sort of being too precious, because it's just a little rough personal thing that will hide in my bag for making lists, shopping lists, phone numbers, notes that I think of. And then I need a needle. Oh look, I've got some that are already threaded, which is handy. So these are left over from a bookmaking workshop that I did a while ago. So that's going to be perfect. Oops. So they've already been waxed as well, which is good. Alright. So we're going to finish off tying on the inside. So we go in through the middle, oops, and I'm going to get my cotton, my ribbon, and I'm just going to go through the middle to catch the ribbon, like that, and then we'll go through that hole, through the middle. I'm going to pull that through. So then we go through this hole. Now this bit's a bit tricky, because when you pass through here, you want to do it so that you're not splitting your thread. So it goes back through there. And you want it to come up on the other side of the thread. Miss the whole, like that. That's that bit. So cut the needle off. So now you can see you've got, pull it a bit tight. And you see the middle one is through, and so you've got the thread coming out on each side. And then we're just going to do a square knot over that. So it's right over left, pull quite sharp, like so. And we're going to trim that. So that's that. And we're going to fold that up like that. Now the next bit I've got to do is just trim that because it's a little bit too long. So I'll close that up. So we're just going to make a little mark here and here. And I'll pull that back. And then when I trim that, I'm going to trim it so that I cut the pencil mark off. I'm not going to try and cut it all through in one go because it's so thick. Just slowly do it. That little bit of brush there. Now, see, it's a bit crooked, so I'm just going to neaten that up a bit. There we go, and there's, fold that over like that. That keeps my pages together. Now we can try it up. Sure. It's this little notepad to keep in my handbag. So if I want to make a note, just pull it out, open it up, jot down something I want to remember. Close it up again, like so. There you go. So we're going to upcycle this little milkshake cup. It's really nice now that you get very pretty cups. So the first thing we've got to do is cut the base out. So this knife is a bit big for that, but we'll see how we go. Helps if it's super sharp. Go. Cut that out. Always retract your blade when you're not using your knife. Now the next thing is to decide where we're going to fold it in half. So it'd be nice to have the zebra's face on the front, I think. So I'll fold it there. So the next thing you, if you don't have a bone folder like this, you could use the back of a dessert spoon or soup spoon, and you use that just to crease, make that crease there and there. Now this one that I made, this is very flat because I was able to put it into a book press. But if you don't have a book press, you could try using some house bricks. Just putting it between two breadboards and then piling on a few, 2 or 3 house bricks and leaving it overnight. So there we go. Right, now the next thing we've got to do is cut the front, and that will be the opening of our notepad. Now we have little book shape. So the next thing is what we're going to put in there. Now, given that I work in an office environment, we always have a lot of, notepaper. Like these are some old invoices that came with a few boxes of books. So I'll start by folding that in half. And then just lightly creasing. So this basically is going to be sewn into our book. And then when we're finished, we're going to get the knife and trim around. So first up, we need our awl. So this awl is called a tailor's awl, and I got that from one of our popular places where you buy fabric and things of such. I don't know, can I say their name? Spotlight, there we go. I bought this at Spotlight. And it's a tailor's awl. So we're going to put roughly, we're going to bring it through. We want one hole in the middle or close to. And another one up here. And then another one down the base. Being careful not to stab yourself. Right, so then we take our pre-threaded needle, and I think that's going to be long enough. So we'll start with the middle. So we come through like that, and we want to leave about a couple of inches on the inside. Then we're going to come through here and come through there like that. Oops, that's right, I was going to use that one. Find a purpose for it. Like that. We're going to make sure that that is pulled nice and firm. So I want it to be firm. And we bring this one through here. And we're going to make sure we come in. When you bring the needle through, you're going to make sure you don't splice the other one, and you want a thread on either side of that long stitch. And then we just do a square knot. And there we go. So now the next bit is just to trim around here. So we're not going to cut straight, but I'll use a ruler so we can distribute some weight across that edge. And we just trim like that. What I'll do is sides. Now this one I'll do the top. Oopsie. We have a little notepad. I mean, if you wanted to use blank paper, that's easy enough done. And we don't, you might want to put a couple of bulldog clips on it. And maybe put some heavy weights over it overnight to try and keep it flat. But we'll probably tend to have that openness for a while. You're not restricted to using a thread, so the thread that I've got here is just a cotton baker's twine, or you can use leftover bits of wool. This is called eyelash wool, I think. So I've got, you could also use ribbon. I find the 3mm ribbon is the best width for sewing with. Anything wider and it's hard to get it through a needle. Got some other natural twine that you can use. I suppose if you wanted to, you could try using, ribbon. So this is some ribbon that I've kept from when I bought myself some new tea towels. The tea towels were tied up with this ribbon. And gift cards are also a good thing. I mean, like you could turn a nice gift card into a notepad if you especially liked the image and it was special and you wanted to use it. So,
What about the wax on the cords? Do we need to talk about that?
Oh,
Is that important?
more so if you're sewing books.
Okay.
It helps for glide, so you get more glide with the thread.
Okay.
It helps to reduce the tendency for the thread to knot up when you're sewing books, and it makes the thread a little bit more protected, I guess, against humidity and oils in your skin and things like that. But primarily it stops your thread from knotting and gives it good glide. Okay. So this stitch that we've been using is called a pamphlet stitch, and it's the same stitch that can be used when if you've got a precious magazine and you want to preserve it. You could try making a folder for it, such as this one, and then we pop the magazine into the folder. You probably need a slightly larger one for this. And then we do a pamphlet stitch, stitching the magazine into a protective cover. I think I've got a taller one in here. So this is my little box of tricks. This one's a bit taller. So these are archival folders. So then you do your pamphlet stitch of stitching your magazine into a protective folder, and then it sits in the magazine protected. And it's exactly the same stitch would be used for this as for these little notepads. And generally what people do when they do things like this, they would find the center of the magazine. There we go. Very carefully remove the staples, and then we'd use the outermost hole from each staple, and then we'd just put one careful hole in the middle. So it's a very non-invasive way of, you know, protecting your magazine. And I think one careful hole in the middle of your magazine is going to be, and you know, when you put it into a protective cover, is going to be the lesser evil of having it floating around so that it can get damaged.